Good to see folks.
Good morning,
Good.
Amy and 9:30 callers.
Good morning. All right, let's get we are so excited to have Excel Linguistics with us this morning. And Amy, Commissioner, I know you said you're going to have a slide, so we're just going to remind each other to talk slowly. So when we have the translation, they can keep up. Um, so let me see. Yeah, a few more folks are coming in, but then I'm going to turn things over to Julian, who will start our. Yes, so in the chat, just so folks know, it's Amy O's birthday and not Amy K's birthday. I just spoke yesterday about, I mean, I don't know, Amy, if you would like to celebrate with me.
I I would of course like to celebrate
Obviously.
with you, but then you have to celebrate with me in February.
I will. I will. I was telling a story yesterday about when we worked together about how I had to take my nickname professionally because there were so many Amy's. Um, so Julian, I'll turn things over to you.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, good morning to everyone. It is a pleasure for us to be here providing interpretation services in Spanish and also in Portuguese. In just a moment, you will see the globe icon next to the word interpretation. You will find this at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you click on that globe, you can select your language. If you have joined from a cell phone or tablet, look for the three dots button on your screen next to the word more. From there, you will see interpretation as an option in the list to choose your language. An important reminder, everyone has to select a language and stay in that channel. Now I will turn it over to Shay to repeat that in Spanish.
Buenos días a todos. Ya vamos a comenzar con la interpretación. Si estás en un computador para conectar, va a aparecer un icono de un globo en la parte inferior de tu pantalla y ahí puedes seleccionar español. Si estás en un celular, en vez que el globo, puedes seleccionar los tres puntos junto a la palabra More y ahí dice Language Interpretation y puedes conectar al canal de español. Muchísimas gracias.
Thanks, Shay. Dora, go ahead, please, and repeat that in Portuguese.
Sure. Bom dia a todos, sejam todos bem-vindos à reunião das 9h30. Nós vamos começar com os serviços de interpretação. Você verá um globo aparecer na parte inferior da tela, junto à palavra Language Interpretation. Você seleciona esse globo e aí seleciona o seu idioma. Se você está acessando de um tablet ou de um celular, clique nos três pontinhos na parte inferior da tela e selecione o seu idioma. Lembramos que todos devem selecionar o idioma da sua preferência. Muito obrigada.
Thank you, Dora. Okay, so interpretation is available now. Back to you, Amy.
Thanks so much to each of you. And thank you to 9:30 callers for the birthday messages in the chat. Commissioner, I will turn things over to you. We know that this has already been a busy week at EEC with 2 listening sessions, you and the call, and just one more thank you for joining us once a month. I think we don't want to take it for granted that you and the team come here. So turn things over to Amy K.
Thanks so much, Amy O, and happy birthday. I love the raining cakes in
I
the
know.
chat. That's like I want to live in raining cakes. So maybe someday that will
Maybe
happen.
that would be one. I
Yeah.
just have to say, a shout out to Titus Sastromedius in 2020 when we were still using Excel spreadsheets for the 9:30 call. He somehow messaged all the 9:30 callers. So when people appeared, everybody had birthday hats and banners. It was one of my favorite COVID memories. So thanks, Titus.
Oh, that's a good memory of a tough time.
Of a tough time, exactly.
So,
Okay.
and I was thinking, so good morning, everyone, and I'm so happy to be here for my monthly time. And I have a dense amount of information I want to share today, and it made me think, Amy, that maybe we should schedule a bonus, which would be bonus for me to come and do sort of an ask the commissioner more open mic kind of opportunity, because I feel like I often come and have a lot to share, which is I'm so grateful for that opportunity, but we don't get as much kind of
Yeah.
question and answer, and I'm anticipating we'll get right up to the deadline this morning. So
Absolutely. We'll plan that. Get ready, Jackie Foley, for my Dates
Reach out.
available for
Yeah.
Ask the Commissioner. I love it. Well, and so folks, also, if you have questions, you can also message them right to me and I can ask. We always send a chat. So if you have questions, please add them to the chat so at least the commissioner knows what we're thinking about.
Well, because I always learn something, so it's really important for me to have that opportunity. But today we had a board meeting last week, and we had three very meaty, important topics in that board meeting. Our strategic action plan, which we've spent some time here before, the revision to our regulations governing our residential programs for children and youth that are now out for public comment. So if some of you run those programs, or please share that. But the most important, I think, for the 9:30 callers who've been interested in what the status of our child care financial assistance programs. So Addison and Eugenia are busy in the chat talking a little bit about making sure you have access. Now, I'm just going to say this is at least an hour-long presentation. And
Right.
if you have the opportunity and time to listen to the presentation that was done by the actual experts at the board meeting and not by me, it will give you broader context. The other thing I want to say is that we are going to have the slides that we're going to highlight today translated, so that you'll have access to at least the slides in translated version. So what I would like to do today is just give you a quick highlight of some of what we're talking about in terms of where we are on childcare financial assistance, what the trends are looking like. So a little reminder of like what the basic requirements are for the program, how it's structured, how many kids are we serving, and kind of the trends we're seeing, and then share a little bit about our view of kind of where we are on childcare financial assistance. And this is intended to be a very high level, quick look to allow you to go and dig deeper into areas where you may have questions. And we will have those slides available in translated form, and you can also see the recording, as I said. And I don't, Eugenia might have already put in the time stamp of when you can go in if you want to just watch that part of the board
And
meeting.
that's a good reminder, Amy, that this call is being live translated, but we also have the recordings in English, Spanish, and Portuguese that are all on our YouTube channel.
All right, so I'm going to ask Eugenia. So the other thing is, I know it is a very packed week of sessions and opportunities for engagement and working groups. So I'm going to ask Eugenia if there's anything you need to add to the chat to do that. And I think we had one quick C3 update or flag that you wanted to do, Eugenia, before we dive into childcare financial assistance.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. We had some really nice sessions yesterday and the day before for C3, and I did want to clarify a couple things that we've been getting some consistent questions on for C3. That being, I think, a little bit of confusion around the attestation for childcare financial assistance. So we did want to make sure that folks know that attesting to childcare financial assistance doesn't mean like changing your program hours or like holding a specific spot if you don't have one right now available. It means that if a family did come to you and you had space at your program, that you would be willing to let them access your program if your program meets the family's need. I think the beautiful thing about early childhood is that we have a diverse pool of educators that offer different things for families. So the attestation really is just saying that if someone comes to you, you have the space, and that they would like to access your program, that you would accept them to come to your program if they're getting childcare financial assistance. So I did just want to clarify that because I think some folks had some confusion there. Thank you, Commissioner. You're muted.
We may have more slides than we can handle for the time we have left, but let's get started. And again, the purpose of this presentation is to give you a high-level idea of what's in the presentation so that you can go back. So just a quick reminder that childcare financial assistance in Massachusetts is a federal and state partnership. So some funding comes from the federal government and some funding comes from the state government. We run three programs that are funded across two different line items. So that means in our budget, the income eligible program is in one line item, and we have a budget for that. And then we have one line item that is intended to serve families who are referred from the Department of Children and Families or the Department of Transitional Assistance. Okay, Eugenia, let's move on and show what it looks like from a federal and state. So this slide shows us what has looked like from fiscal year 2019 to this fiscal year in terms of state and federal partnership funding. So the blue line, the blue box at the bottom block is state funds, and the red is federal dollars. So you can see that over the course of the last 7 years, there's been a very significant increase in the state commitment to child care financial assistance. We are just over $1 billion
Wow.
across our programs, and most of that growth, if not all of it, is really attributed to state resources. And I just wanted to mention one other thing that's relevant given the recent federal shutdown, which is that the way child care financial assistance is funded in Massachusetts is the state basically advances the funds. So budgets for the whole year. And then over the course of the year, we seek reimbursement or claim additional dollars from the federal government, which is why the shutdown did not affect our child care financial assistance payments and what we would expect going forward. So basically the state sets the budget, gives the amount of money, designates the amount of money for child care financial assistance, and then can get reimbursed for some parts of it over the course of the year from the federal government. Okay. So just a quick reminder here too, again, 3 programs, our income eligible program, which is for low income working families. We are in January going to be increasing the initial eligibility for families from 50% of state median income to 85%, maintaining priority for 50%. And then we have a DTA related program and a DCF related program. The thing I wanted to point out that's different about these programs is our income eligible program is accessed through the wait list. So each year, the legislature gives us a certain amount of funds to run the income eligible program. We serve as many kids as we can within the funding that's been given to us. And that's why we keep a waiting list, because right now we don't have enough funds to serve all the families who are eligible. So any family who is low income and working and trying to access income eligible would need to come through the statewide waiting list in order to access those income eligible programs. DTA and DCF related are different. We call those guaranteed, sometimes entitlement, or immediate access. So we are required by the legislature and our state budget language to take any family who is referred from the Department of Transitional Assistance or the Department of Children and Families. So the programs operate very differently. Income eligible, we have to manage to the budget we've been given. For DTA and DCF related childcare, we have to serve all the families who come to us. And if we run out of money, the language in the budget tells us we have to ask for more. Okay, let's move on to the next one. As I said, I'm hitting these very quickly, which is supposed to just give you a sense of what's in this presentation. We buy childcare financial assistance in 2 different ways, and most of you are aware of this because you may take or accept childcare financial assistance in 2 different ways. Vouchers, which are portable, and families may use those at any program that is willing to accept childcare financial assistance. So as Eugenia was saying around the C3 attestation, if a family had a voucher and they wanted to come to your program and you had space available and it works for the family, then we would expect going forward through C3 that you would serve that family and they would likely be coming to you with a voucher. Contracted seats means we have a contract directly for a certain number of seats at a specific program. So those are not portable, they are at the program, and programs enroll directly DCF families, sometimes income eligible families, DTA families are exclusively served through our vouchers. Okay. So this slide shows you a little bit about how the actual spending looks. So on the left side, you can see what the breakdown is between the funding that we spend on our income eligible program, which is the majority, and our DCF and DTA related. So I will say, and you'll see this in the next slide, that both of the programs that are serving DCF and DTA have been the fastest growing parts of our caseload over the last several years, which is fantastic because we want to be reaching more families through both of those programs. We have had less growth, as you are all quite aware, in the income eligible program, although you'll see over the last 5 years quite a bit. On the right-hand side, you can see the split of how much funding is going into or is budgeted to go into vouchers or the contracts, as I said on the previous slide. Those vouchers that are portable, families can take to any program, or the contracts that go directly to programs. One important thing to note is that the overall cost includes not just what we pay on a daily basis for any individual child, and that amount can vary when they're an infant or a toddler or school age, but the overall spending also includes the cost of transportation, which, as many of you know, has gone way up, language access and translation, special needs funding that supports individual children within programs to make sure they can stay safely and well enrolled and be served well, as well as support services, particularly for our families involved with the Department of Children and Families. So when we look at $1 billion budget, it includes the amount we pay for each child on a daily basis, but all of these other support services that help children enroll and stay enrolled and families access the services and information they need. Really important to note that we're serving about 69,000 families across these programs right now, which is the most families we've ever served in child care financial assistance. And we're also at an all-time high in terms of the number of programs who are willing to participate in child care financial assistance. So I think when I joined the agency in 2022, we had about 52% of all licensed programs were willing to participate in child care financial assistance. Now it's 69% of all licensed programs. And I'm not going to talk about it too much today, but you'll see you can see how it varies by region too. So if you're interested in your region, you can dig into the presentation and take a look.
I also added in the chat, Amy, that Kim Dion from the Resource and Referral World will be on the 9:30 call on December 3rd to talk about how to get a voucher agreement.
That's fantastic. Okay. Can you just go back one, Eugenia? So we just wanted to show you just what the sort of trend line looked like over time for enrollment. So the top line is our income eligible program, and the bottom line is our DCF and DTA related programs. So obviously we had a significant dip during COVID, and you can see that represented in these slides. But I also wanted to point out from the COVID low of 25,000 in income eligible, we're serving about 14,000 more families than we were in 2021. And it's a similar number, growth in our DCF and DTA, about 13,000 family increase from our 2021 low. So I just applause and gratitude to all of you who have open classrooms and work so hard to hire teachers and be able to serve these families, because that's a pretty amazing amount of growth within both of these caseloads and the number of children and families who are getting served by many of you. And the only other thing I wanted to point out on this slide is that the rate of growth has been much faster within our DCF and DTA. So you can see that overall growth and the amount of kids, but from the original sort of size of the program to where we are now, you see bigger growth within DCF and DTA. Okay, So as I pointed out earlier, we have more programs that are participating in childcare financial assistance ever before, and we want to encourage anyone who's interested to please sign a voucher agreement and work with your local CCR&Rs if you're interested. And it will be a requirement through the Commonwealth Cares for Children program this year, directed by the legislature, that all programs do need to attest that they're willing. But we've seen an incredible growth across the state in the number of programs, and that means more access to more choices for families. Okay. So the other thing that's grown, obviously, is our wait list. So an interesting dynamic, we have about 30,000 families on the wait list now. And one thing that's interesting about the way the wait list works, and many of you probably are aware of this as well, is that when we are enrolling and we have funding to enroll new families in childcare financial assistance, the wait list actually tends to grow because people hear it's moving. I'm going to get on the waiting list. I'm hoping to access. When things are more limited, like they are right now, it often actually slows down, and some of the data on the wait list gets a little bit old. So some of the work we're doing on Family Portal and modernizing childcare financial assistance should actually help with the waiting list. But obviously, this reflects some level of demand out there in the system. Okay. So I want to just talk about two other things, and then I'll stop sharing slides. One is that in addition to increasing the number of kids that are being served, one of the other things that is great news, but also contributing to a more expensive childcare financial assistance programs, is the number of rate increases we've seen. So much needed childcare financial assistance rate increases, which allow us to increase salaries in our programs and incentivize people to participate. But you can see over the last 7 years that we've had nearly $248 million in rate increases. And so each year this means the number of kids gets added to the amount we have to pay for kids, which is what equals our total cost for caseload. So Eugenia, let's hit the last slide. And this shows a little bit of what I was just talking about. So this slide kind of shows what it looks like over time as you see the number of children, DTA and DCF in red, income eligible in blue, rate increases in light blue at the top. So this is what caseload growth looks like, right? It's the number of kids increasing over the years, the number of new families being enrolled in these programs, plus the rate increase. And so every year, the number of kids stays with us and the rate increase stays with us, so increases over time as well. So from year to year, we have to make sure we have enough funds to maintain all the existing families in the caseload as we continue to increase the price of what it costs to deliver care, either through transportation or overall increases in rates. Okay, let's stop sharing. I knew that was going to be a long. But
I think first to have all that information is so helpful. To see it laid out in the charts is so helpful. There's a couple of kind of themed questions. One question is about the contract reprocurement and if that will be reopened in the near future. And then the other theme that both Brian Dixon and Kate Warren Barnes asked about is about the increase of DCF and DTA spending. Like, is that a signal to how families are faring in Massachusetts?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I want to just sum up by just saying there's a very good story to tell about what's happening in our childcare financial assistance programs. With your partnership, we have made it easier to access care. And as I like to say, when you make it easier, people come and they stay longer. So many of the reforms and policy changes we've made over the last year means it's easier to access, it's easier to continue to receive care. And we see that in the caseload and in the expenses in the caseload. So I'm really proud of all of that work and the current and that, you know, more families are accessing it over a longer period of time with what we think are greater and better services as well. We are in a situation now where we have limits, and I want to be really clear on this, that the waitlist is not closed, but there are pretty significant limits on that to continuity of care. So that might be families who are transitioning from DTA or DCF or siblings. But DTA and DCF referrals remain open. To answer some of the questions about caseload dynamics, I would say there's much more we say during the full presentation that I didn't get to say today, but the DTA caseload itself has grown a great deal. And that's one of the reasons we believe we're seeing increases in DTA. It could also be that the impact of inflation and other changes are making more families eligible or making more families coming through the DTA door. That could be possible. We are not seeing an increase in the DCF caseload, but we have made many improvements to the automated system for referring children from DCF. So you see kind of two dynamics happening here. Caseload growth at DTA resulting in more kids. At DCF, it's more of a process improvement. We made it easier for social workers to refer families, and when you make it easier, more families come. So we're seeing that dynamic as well. Okay. Amy, is there another question you want me to address?
I mean, there's a lot of happy birthday messages, I gotta tell you. So
yeah, there is. We're not
going to
get to...
Oh, here comes the cakes again.
Yeah.
I think, yes, Edna says, thank you for offering this call and the slides as well. And so, Amy, I think just to reiterate, the slides that you want to work on translation of those slides.
So I'm going to encourage anyone who's interested in kind of a deeper dive. The presentation at the board meeting is in English, but extremely well done by our amazing EEC team, as always. And then the slides themselves that we just presented and the ones that were at the board meeting that I didn't talk about, we are going to translate those and make sure that you have access to them as well. And then, as always, questions, deeper dive, reach out to Eugenia to make sure. But I think I just wanted to, I feel like almost every call I've been on, we've talked about childcare financial assistance and the fact that, you know, I was at graduation of 31 new family childcare providers the other night, and I was so excited to be there, but I also thought they're graduating into opening their businesses in a world where there's such limited access to childcare financial assistance for families, and also like even C3 is limited in some ways for our new providers. So I know that it's on everyone's mind. Our staff hears about the families that are on the waiting list. You all are hearing from families. And so I wanted to make sure everyone was aware that we are spending every single dollar we can to reach as many families as we can. And I feel like we continue to build the infrastructure to serve additional families when additional resources are available. So we will be ready, and I know you all will be too, when there are new funds to serve additional families. But
I think we want to use the 9:30 call space to think about like that advocacy, right? As we gear up for the fiscal year 26-27 budget. My God. Yeah, 27 budget process, which will start in January, right? Like, as you said, EEC spends the money that gets allocated by the legislature, some of which has language about how to spend it. And so that's the source of where we need to advocate to get additional dollars, to your point that you are spending all the dollars available that you have. So I think, you know, when I was on one of the C3 listening sessions, I was adding a lot of that in the chat. So I think as advocates, we take that job very seriously. Folks are also adding some 9:30 call love and appreciation to the commissioner and the EEC team, many of whom we see here. We know, I think the accessibility of you and your team is incredible. You know, we were just at a conference with 50 advocates from 50 states, and I think kind of this relationship we have is incredible. And I think it's not the same in every state or every context. So I just want to acknowledge that. And so folks are continuing to add that. So if you joined midway through, the commissioner also has offered to come for some bonus calls of Ask the Commissioner. so that we can kind of source questions and have more of a conversation. We appreciate that coming on once a month after the board meeting really is about kind of reiterating and highlighting things. But as the commissioner said, the full board meeting is available on YouTube. Some people have said they listen to it maybe at 1.5 speed to have things go a little quicker. But I just really want to think of, Amy just wrote transparency is care. And I think that that's right.
Both ways. We feel
Both
cared for
ways.
by you all too. And I can't imagine how we would do it differently.
That's right. Well, Commissioner, it's always wonderful to have you here and the team. We so appreciate you, all the information. So folks, watch the EEC board meeting, maybe before you have some turkey at Thanksgiving or whatever you are, and how you are celebrating or not. And we also will say that we have just heard that and confirmed that Attorney General Andrea Campbell will join the 9:30 call in December. So we'll be looking forward to that. Continue the love and appreciation for Amy. Thank you for my birthday messages.
Happy birthday.
And we will see everybody next Monday on the 9:30 call. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.
Thanks.